Well, hello. I'm Joshua Goodman, and this is A Goodman's Tale. A Goodman's Tale is a place where we can talk about life's adventures, life's difficulties, tragedies, hardships. We can really get down to the nitty-gritty of what life is all about. It's really about life's journey. You telling me your tale, and me telling you, well, not just my tale, but our tale today. Remember, if you enjoy this broadcast, make sure you like, subscribe, and share it. That way we help get the news out of who we are and what we're doing. That being said, let's go ahead and run the intro. Today's word of the day is the word world. Now, this is a word we are all so very familiar with. For God so loved the world. The word world there is actually the word cosmos. It is the prearranged set order of things, the harmonious arrangement, the constitution, order of government, ornament, decoration, ordained the arrangement of the stars, the heavenly hosts, the world, and the universe. I want to just kind of highlight real quick before we get into today's show that it is the prearranged set order of things. For God so loved the prearranged set order of things that he gave his only son. Today, it is my privilege, it is my honor to welcome to A Goodman's Tale, Miss Lyn Rice. Hallelujah. Lyn and I have known each other for, 20 plus years. And I guess to just kind of open things up and jump in, let's go with an icebreaker first of all. Let's talk about what I call the would you rathers. If you could only choose two types of food to eat for the rest of your life, what would they be and why?
Anything Asian.
Ooh, nah, I mean that's like
that's broad.
I mean that's like
okay.
way too broad.
Okay, all right.
You got to choose like if it's going to be like kung pao chicken, egg foo young, General Tso's chicken, but
what? Bulgogi.
Bulgogi
And kimchi.
Yeah, nice source of carbs and protein. So I got you.
And probably pizza.
Oh. Now, you see, in talking about this, I guess we'd have to narrow down too, because if we said pizza, would it only be pepperoni? Because let's face it, if it's pizza in general, and I can have any topping on it, then basically that could be like 45 different tastes.
Pizza with mushrooms and tomatoes and spinach.
So let's talk about this, because this is a debate, and many will probably agree with me on this. But can you eat pineapple on pizza? No.
Absolutely
You
not.
are a no pineapple person.
Not at
Are
all.
you also the person who says that you have to wait till after Thanksgiving to put up Christmas lights?
Absolutely.
I see, yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
True
You cannot
confessions.
do it early.
No, true confessions by Pastor Josh. I not only eat pepperoni on pizza, but I also believe you can put your lights on right now.
No.
Go ahead and put them up.
It's too
Matter
early.
of fact, I'm so deep south that you can leave those lights up all year long if you really want to. That's how.
Oh, no.
No.
My grandmother says they have to be down before the first of the year.
Yeah, but otherwise you bring bad luck,
You
right?
bring bad luck.
Let's talk about that for a second. So, do you have traditional like New Year's? Because like at my house, and I found out that my house, though we were traditionally Southern, the food we ate was, according to pop culture, inaccurate. But you go first. What was your normal like New Year's Eve day food?
Shameful pig feet.
Come on.
Chitlins. Rice.
Yeah.
Black eyed peas, collard greens, cornbread.
And if you know your Southern, kind of like old wives' tales, it's one of those things where you eat the pig because it represents wealth, and or in the greens also. I guess they represent health. I don't know, but they all represent something. So mine, we always had fried chicken, collard greens, black eyed peas. But I found out, having Googled, traditional Southern meals, that you shouldn't eat chicken because chickens scrape their means out of the dirt, and
Oh,
if you eat chicken,
you'll be poor.
yeah,
You'll be poor for the year.
Yeah, you're gonna be scraping by for the rest of the year. And so I guess according to Southern traditions, maybe that's the reason why I'm so scraping by every year.
Yeah. You're gonna need to get some pork. You got some pig on your plate.
Yeah. I think if I had to choose, I think pizza is a solid choice. I
Yeah.
think that's a good one. And honestly, I don't know that I could feasibly live the rest of my life without hamburgers.
Really?
Yeah, I can even do. I love steak. No, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Probably my favorite meal is steak.
Yeah.
But if I had to eat something for the rest of my life, I don't think I would want it to be steak.
No.
Even the best steak, a ribeye steak, for the rest of my life. I think that the one that's most quantity over quality, if I had to go with quantity, would probably be a burger. Yeah, and it could be big burgers, little burgers, fat burgers, lettuce, tomato, cheeseburger, doesn't matter, just any kind of burger. But I think that the burger too, like the pizza, you can have so many different varieties of it that it kind of makes it worthwhile. Let's jump in and tell you what. You tell us for the next few minutes just about who are you. Tell us a little bit about your life, kids. All your journey.
So I feel like I'm in an interview like I used to do as my job. So I'll give you in the framework to keep myself balanced.
There you go.
So I'm from Augusta, Georgia. My dad is still there. He's 83 years old, and went to school in South Carolina State College. Go Bulldogs! And then in the 90s, I got married. I actually eloped.
Oh, really?
I eloped.
No, wait, because back in those days, right, in North Carolina, we used to talk about eloping to Dillon, South Carolina.
Dillon, I eloped to Greenville, South Carolina.
There you go.
Told my mom I was going for a little visit, and we got married.
So you actually did what we all talked about doing.
That's amazing. Absolutely did. And then I went back to college like I wasn't even married.
Wow.
So my previous husband was in the military. So we did 23 years and 9 months, 10 moves, and 3 children, 1 deployment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I think, goodness sake, then you and Cedric, because we've known each other 20 plus years. So you guys hadn't been married but for a couple of years when we first met.
When I came here in 1993, my son, who's 30, was 3 months old.
Wow.
So I didn't even have my daughter at the time. When we came back, when we left, I was pregnant with my daughter.
With your daughter.
And then I came back in 2003. We came back in 2003. And been here ever since.
Ever since. Wow.
Yeah.
And that brings us, I don't want to jump into our discussion yet, missions and our adventures and stuff. So tell me a little bit, excluding the mission stuff, because like I said, I won't say that. But a little bit about your kind of ministry life, your deployment, Germany, things like that. What were those things like?
So, I've always been active in the church. I can remember I got saved in college, and then our first duty station was Alaska.
Wow.
Yeah. So
where's that, like Juneau, or where was that?
We were in Anchorage. We lived in Eagle River. So that was the first time I'd been that far away with that much snow, and so we were involved in the military. And then Protestant services, and then we ended up going to another church.
Now, was that before you moved to Fort Bragg, or was that?
That was
your first. Your actually first duty station.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we met a really wonderful couple that we're still in touch with today. They're pastors of a church in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Oh, cool.
And so from that journey, I always track everything based on where was I, which kid it was, and things like that. Alaska was a great place to be.
And how long were you there for?
4 years.
Wow, really?
So, and both of our parents actually got to come and see Alaska, which that's the one thing I really love about the military is that we've had the opportunity that our parents have been able to share in all of the places that we go on. And then because we went to Korea, we were in Korea
did they come and visit you in Korea?
They came in Korea.
That is so cool.
Yes,
awesome.
They came to Korea. My mom and dad came to Korea, and we just put them on a tour of the whole thing and let them go
and do their thing. Love it.
So we were, and then in Korea, of course, we were involved with the chapel and Protestant women of the chapel. I did. I was on the board there. And,
now, was Korea again pre-Fayetteville, pre-Fort Bragg, before?
Okay, so let's track it down. Let's see. I have because I used to have it all up on my board. So it was Alaska, Fayetteville.
Okay. Now, is that when we met, or was it okay? Okay, so that was your first one when you lived over off of Sycamore Dairy Road or whatever it's called, Bingham.
Yeah.
Yeah, off of Bingham. Okay.
And then we went to D.C. Because that's where I had Caleb.
Yep.
And the D.C. area, and then we went to Korea.
And then to Korea after that.
Because Caleb, I would have to think Caleb was small. Went to Korea after that, then came back to D.C. Because he was stationed at the Pentagon on 9/11.
Yep.
And then from there, and somewhere in between there we went to Kansas. I can't remember. We were in Kansas.
And weren't you in? Didn't you go to Germany too?
No, didn't get to go to Germany.
Maybe I was mistaken. Korea from Germany.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Germany, but that was Alaska. And then after then is when you guys
came back here for command.
Moved back here.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he was the commander, the last commander of the 50th Signal Battalion here at Fort Bragg.
Now, what rank is that? Is that colonel? It's full bird colonel, right? Very cool. And then after whatever you said, 23 years.
Yeah, he retired in 2008.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
it's been a journey.
You know,
I love the military. I love the military.
Well, and one thing too, to our listeners and viewers that I will express too is my unending, not just appreciation for our soldiers, but for their families and spouses. I think here in Fayetteville, we have a particularly intimate perspective of what spouses and children have to go through when their soldiers are deployed, especially in the church, because a lot of times those spouses lean on their spiritual families, and the children lean on that, and you find that guys who are maybe ushers or pastors being like a father figure, while their dads are away, or vice versa if their mom's away, and I think that's a real cool relationship that a lot of soldiers. Many of them benefit from, but many of them don't because they simply don't know that it's not there.
And it's interesting too because the one time that Cedric deployed, my oldest son was about 16, and he was being a 16-year-old. And I remember talking to your dad and saying, somebody has got to talk to him because I'm about to kick him out the house,
I don't know anything about that. I was a perfect child at 16.
Right. And I just can remember feeling like, I know your children sometimes act up because dad's not there to put the foot down. And so I just can remember coming to the church. It's a true thing. I really came to...
and saying, hey, look, I need some help here. We need to talk a little bit here.
Yeah. So it's been a great journey.
In all of that, what would you say is one of your most joyous, kind of victorious, moments? The moment you really could set apart and say, man, I remember that, and that was a moment.
That's hard to narrow down.
Right.
I mean,
you give me your top.
I have my family moments. Like I have. Of course, when my children were born, I have moments when they were successful in school.
Let me say in regards to that too. For me, there's a couple of life-changing moments I can remember, and one of them specifically was the birth of Rebecca, because I was not there for the birth of Tony, but there was a moment, when I realized that my life was not only my life. But there was a life now dependent, and really in my manhood, that marked a moment where, I had to put up or shut up. I had to grow up. It was like, no, this is time. It. And I'll never forget that. So I completely agree.
I think, and I was, Cedric is the only boy out of 5 sisters, and so I think
Cedric Senior.
So I was really happy to have 2
men
children. The boy. I needed the Rice,
and those were the 2 top ones, and then finally you get the baby girl. Who's the last one?
It was still
the princess, right?
The princess. Yes.
So, what about so that's in your family life? What other area? What?
I think before we move into missions, I think it was when I went to Haiti for the first time. Yeah, it was life-changing because I did not really understand that there are people all over the world that didn't know Christ. Well, and even in the midst of people doing ministry, and even in the midst of 5 churches being on the corner, I think for the first time I saw the faces of people that might not know Christ. It was very overwhelming. I can remember being in that bus, and I know we were singing and all this kind of stuff, and looking out the window and just seeing all those faces and thinking, will these people make it? Like,
let's unpack that a little bit, because I got a follow-up question, not just what your greatest moment, but your most challenging. But let's talk about that first mission trip, because let's face it, I was
you were
a 17-year-old stupid boy, right, or 18-year-old, whatever I was. One of I think probably my very first leadership, when I'm actually leading the team. And here we are in Haiti with that crazy bus driver. Oh my goodness!
Oh my God!
Driving, all over the place.
Oh, and that rainy night.
And
driving
going
up the mountain.
Right?
Oh my gosh!
What? So tell us a little bit about that team. What do we do? Highlights of that.
So I have these flashes of moment. I actually still have the cassette.
Oh wow!
I still have that. I can't get rid of it. So I can remember it was about 14 or 15 of us. I remember Lisa Granger.
Yes.
So because she was our Bible study teacher, and it was so awesome. And Kathy Borth and Miss Pat Barnes and Miss Vicky, Miss Geraldine.
Yes. Yep. What in Miss? It wasn't Miss Vicky, Miss Geraldine, Miss. Goodness sake. Nate was on that trip.
Yes, Nathan was on the trip.
Nathan was on the trip. And several, probably 15, 20 people, I guess, were on that trip. Yeah.
And so what was amazing to me is, and this is probably reflection more so than what was going on at that time, because you're there, you're kind of nervous, you don't know what to do, and then, we were told the stories about, the witch doctor and the voodoo people and
the
hungry kids,
and
then the hungry scaly dogs, so it was kind of, I didn't know what I was getting into. And so that part was really scary. But I liked the adventure of it. I liked seeking out and searching out people. Like, now it was scary in the little tap and going up the mountain. And we rigged up the generator and showed the Jesus film. And then, but people were like excited about hearing about Jesus. And I think in reflection, I'm thinking, you put the Jesus movie on today, people will be like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that, So that was the poverty, I think, was really like the trash heaps, and like when we went down into Port-au-Prince.
And to see that level
of poverty, I'd never seen anything like that before. And then, but when we got into the church, as poor as they were, they were so rich in joy, and they had nothing, and they were praising the Lord like they
praising
were
the paint off the walls.
They were like
loving it,
and they were giving money. They didn't have anything, and they were just giving their lives. So that perception of living for Christ was totally different from
it's interesting, because here we are as Americans, and oftentimes we are the individuals who have every reason to be joyful, but we're not. Have every reason to give praise, but we don't. And yet you go down there, and here's the people who have nothing.
Just faith alone. It was awesome. So I came back saying, Lord, I thank you for my bathroom and my toilet and my it was hot water. Oh my gosh. So for me, and I think it was different for my family, like my mom and dad, because they didn't know anyone that had ever said, hey, I'm going on a mission trip, and this is what I'm planning on doing.
Well, oftentimes in minority churches, because not just African American, Hispanic, Asian, there's a great deal of you don't. It's more community, this community, not the outside community.
Absolutely.
And one of the statements I've made throughout is that I believe a lot of individuals in the United States, I think heritage is such a great legacy. It's such a wonderful thing, and it doesn't matter race, but I think that a lot of Americans have forgotten a good amount of their heritage and legacy and what our forefathers have cultivated or done or sacrificed for good or for bad. In all reality. Let's talk a little bit about your adventures. So you traveled around the world.
Absolutely.
Haiti was that first trip, and then I think after that, Dominican Republic, and you were working with Dad at that time.
Yeah. So we crossed paths. So as we planned to go to the Dominican, Pastor and Vicky were coming back.
Really?
And we passed in the airport.
Really? Okay.
And I remember Sister Vicky saying, "It's gonna be hot. I hope you've packed a lot of cotton clothes." And that was not a lie. It was hot because we went in September.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. But it was kind of like the follow-up. I think you guys had already been down there, and our team had gone down, and then we were just going to do some follow-up and stuff like that. I met a beautiful Korean couple that spoke fluent Spanish.
Really?
It was beautiful. Dominican Spanish.
Dominican Spanish,
How in the world did this come about? So that trip was great. It's beautiful. But I think I always felt like I was called to Haiti.
Yeah.
But because of the political climate, I never got a chance to go back.
And that's unfortunate because even, more recently you still see the kidnappings and the murders and all these things.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's led teams down countless times to Haiti and all over the world, I got to say, Haiti's probably a place that I would go, but I would not be comfortable leading a team in there.
Yeah. And so when I went to the Dominican, I thought this might be the place, but it's amazing how it just wasn't the place.
No, yeah.
It was it wasn't.
It was a place.
It was a place,
a beautiful
but
place.
It wasn't my place.
Yeah. And then, because I know the story well, but one of your most adventurous mission tales when you went to Africa. Tell us about that.
So 19 of us signed up to go, and it's a medical mission. So I'm not medical, but I because
people we all know, Parker was going, and Miss Mary was. There were several people we know.
So Miss Mary had gotten to Ghana before us, and she was going to serve as our interpreter.
Okay.
And so Dr. Parker and another chiropractor that he travels with. So I had hooked up. I was like, oh, I want to go. So I hooked up, did everything. We get to the airport in Raleigh. There's everybody there. I paid all my money. I had
everything taken care of.
They gave me back my visa, my passport. And then, so as we're checking in, there's no ticket for me.
Now, you got that right. She's on a team, paid her fees, her visa, and there's no ticket.
No ticket.
Continue.
And so the names got mixed up.
Yeah.
And so, of course, we were 2 to 3 hours ahead of time before. And one of the gentlemen whose church had some members, he's over the security.
Yeah.
So he was like, it's getting late, and you guys are going to need to go through security. And so I don't have a ticket.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? So the team left me.
Wow.
Left me in the airport.
And this was at RDU?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they were like, well.
And now let the adventure begin.
And so you call the travel agent and you try to coordinate with him, see if he can fix that problem.
Yeah.
But see ya. Hope you make it.
Bye, yo.
Bye. What's going on? So I called Doc Parker's wife and I said, what do you think, God? I missed it. Do you think God said maybe I shouldn't go? Am I supposed to go? I don't have a ticket. She said, well, let's just pray about it.
Yeah.
And if it works through, you were supposed to go. So my adventure was, I had to spend the night, got my ticket straightened out. I traveled all the way to Accra and to Ghana by myself.
By yourself.
I did. And I went all the way. I was in Amsterdam, sitting in there, and I was going on an adventure.
Now, don't get me wrong. You have had many travels.
Many.
But you were not, vastly. It's not like these travels were a commonplace thing for you. You had traveled overseas several times. But not like that. This was like first time solo, right?
Yeah. So I tried to keep in touch with them. So I just got on the plane and just said, okay. Got in Amsterdam, and I met this really nice lady on the plane, and she was like, well, I'll take you around Amsterdam. And my daughter said, no. Taken. Have you watched the movie
I'm just
Taken?
saying.
Yeah, you're not getting out, Mom.
Yeah.
And so and then I get to the airport, and someone picks me up. I don't know who they are. I just get in the car with them, and then we drive for like 3 hours, and then they put me on a bus in a back alley somewhere, and they said, we'll give you drink and biscuits. Needless to say, biscuits are like cookies.
Yeah.
I thought I was getting like a biscuit.
A biscuit, biscuit gravy, yeah.
And I traveled on the bus. No one spoke English, and I just.
And how long was the bus ride?
About 4 hours.
Wow.
And
it's almost like an Abrahamic experience where God says go, and you're like, where? Well, just
get
go.
On the bus.
Get on the bus.
I got on the bus, and people started getting off at the different stops, and I didn't know where to get off, but someone had told me that somebody would pick me up
at some point.
And somewhere,
somehow.
So I sat there to almost the last stop, and then they were unloading, and then the bus driver said, American. And I said, that would be me.
Yeah.
And the pastor was there, and then we I think we drove for another 2 hours.
Now, how deep was the sigh of relief when you actually linked up with the pastor?
Oh my gosh.
Because
yeah, and he could speak English, so that was good. I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
And he was like, you made it. I said, almost there. And then when we got to the place at the hotel, and I called Mary, and she was so excited. She was like, she's here.
Yeah,
she made
she
it.
Made it.
Like, oh.
You need to have a party.
Yeah.
Turn on the music, bring out the cake.
Yeah. But at one point it was just like, they left me.
Yeah.
They're just going on with the mission, and they left me.
They left me? What?
What?
and then you were like, I won't be left behind.
I will not be left behind.
I'm going.
If you said I was supposed to go,
that's right. Then I'm going to get on the bus.
I'm brave and I'm strong, and I can do this.
Hear me roar. Right? that is because, like I said, if I personally were in that, it would make me nervous.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because
you're in a foreign place, and I'm like, look, I can do anything. I can get it done.
Yeah.
But man, you stepping up and doing that, like I said, that's just amazing. Tell me about I guess it's been, 2-3 years since you guys went to India. Tell me about that trip.
Yeah. So we went with Global Hope India.
Yes.
And you allowed
Here's
us
a shameless plug for Global Hope support.
Yeah. And you allowed us to let us take your wife with you. So,
yes, ma'am.
So we now that's the funny story about it. We were like, oh no, Miss Amber. Oh no, because we have to get you back.
Yeah.
We are not no.
We're not gonna leave you to take a bus.
Oh no, sir. No. We're not going anywhere without you, and we're gonna make sure we're around
That's right,
you
all the time.
we gotta answer to him when we get back. But the beautiful thing about going there was we went to, I call it the compound, and we had opportunities to minister. India's a little different, where women don't necessarily get to minister.
Yes, yeah, well,
and teach and stuff. So we worked with women who have been young girls who have been rescued from sex trafficking and temple prostitution.
Well, and let's talk about that and if we go a little bit long today, that's okay. But because I think that is of vital importance. We as Americans oftentimes have this uninformed perspective that slavery worldwide discontinued with the Declaration Proclamation. Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War. But these girls today are still sold into temple prostitution, these kind of things. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we had an opportunity. It was 5 from Cliffdale went, but the team consisted of 10 of us. Yeah, and the girls just precious, but they have a home there for those young girls. Yeah. But what they do is they teach them a trade. So they have a training school as well, where they can take up embroidery. They have computer skills courses. English is a second language, and that's work. And people do that for income.
It's teaching them a vocation.
Yeah, so they teach them and sewing and so it was beautiful to see these young girls. So we got to do.
Let me jump in because I think it's imperative that our watchers and listeners that they know. So a girl sold into temple prostitution, for example, if she is taken out of that lifestyle and not given a vocation, she may not go back into temple prostitution, but she's more likely to go back into some form of prostitution.
Absolutely.
Whereas a girl who's given an alternative, because one thing you guys have heard me say before is a prostitute is not a prostitute because she is a perverse individual who loves to have sex all the time. She does it because she has no other way to make a living. You know, she has no other way to feed her children. And so given that the vocation is very perverse, the individual is oftentimes an individual who's broke, who's lost, who has no other way to make it. And so
and when we think about sometimes third world countries, we don't understand that they are sometimes, in some situations, they're willing to, for the sake of saving their family.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and so we don't really understand that concept.
Well, we don't understand the concept. I mean, we you know, as critical as we can be of America, the government, and our social systems, reality is most Americans, not all, but most Americans, if they need a meal, they can get it.
Yeah.
Most Americans won't have to go a day, 2 days, 3 days without food. I can remember going to time living in Haiti, impoverished, and having to go days where we didn't have anything to eat or had very little to eat. And most Americans don't know that. But imagine as a mother, you're in a position where it's not just you going hungry, because we can as individuals we can do that. We can sustain. But when it's your child who's going hungry, what lengths, me as a father, wouldn't I go to feed my hungry child? And I got to tell you, that's where the rubber meets the road, because so many times we look at these individuals and we have this mentality of foul, perverse, you know, but so many times it's just a parent wanting to feed a child.
And also in India, when you look at the statistics of the age of when men die, and the types of jobs that they work, they don't have workman's comp, so when they get injured and they're disabled, they are the breadwinners, and so
if they're not winning the bread, there's no bread.
Yeah, there's no bread.
You know.
Yeah, and so we did Bible studies with them. We even had a fun day of makeup, and like we did facials.
Yes,
and that was cool. They taught us some dances.
Yep.
And we taught them some dances.
Isn't that great how you can even overcome that language barrier?
Absolutely.
When there's love.
When there's when there's love and affection and it's appropriate and it's God appropriated love. And I think that's the beauty of what happened there, is that here's people that are shunned, and Saji John is the organization there in India is taking these orphans in and taking in people that are just been thrown away like trash.
And that's another thing we have to understand. These are not the higher echelons of society. These are,
and they're uneducated. So
they're the dregs, the uneducated. You know, he gives hope where there was no hope.
Was no hope, and so that was great. And then we had an opportunity to minister. The staff were all Hindus.
Really?
They're all Hindus.
What an opportunity!
And we got to speak and share the gospel and see salvation. And so one of the goals is, because of COVID, we couldn't go back. One of the goals was to go back and teach MTS 1.
Yeah. Well, and I think that in the future, now that things are, we're beginning to be able to do things, I look forward to those trips to India, Dominican Republic. And I don't know about the Africa, because I don't want to be left on a bus all by myself. We may have to wait on that one. I want to go ahead and conclude now and say thank you so much for being with us at A Goodman's Tale. And I look forward to the next time you come on and we can talk more, more trips, more teams, and some of the stuff that we have been involved in. Lyn and I have partnered for literally years upon years and have stories that could go on for hours and hours. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and cut this short and jump into today's rules to live by in the South. So we know that our word of the day was world, the word cosmos. And in regards to having the discussion that we've had today, realizing what a great big world we live in, but the rule to live by in the South is always, always, always go home. Go back to mama's house, go back to daddy's house, enjoy a good meal, enjoy the family, enjoy the fun. It just so happens that my son, daughter-in-law just came home, and we play what we call the bean game. It's a card game, won't try to explain it to you here, but it's a lot of laughs and fun, good times. And friends, hear me. Those times will not happen frequent enough. So make sure you take time to always go home. Listen, until next time, this is Josh Goodman. And tell you what, how about you live life with all you got?